Okay, so this is one that has been super requested. This is the 2025 Honda Hornet 1000 SP. But first things first, this is filthy, time for a wash. So while I'm drying this off after its lovely jubbly wash, let's go over a couple of features of this bike and what we're actually doing. The bike is pretty much stock apart from race fit end cannon link pipe. Still has the cat in place. We're going to be popping a DNA air filter in there and then full custom mapping. Really excited about this one. Apparently these are quite heavily restricted. So on the video we'll go through what we have access to, what we're going to be changing, and more importantly the results. So let's go.
We got one. Been quite eager to get one of these because I've seen a few other people dyno them, mainly like Chris from More Mafia. He's done one, but they're American, so they're heavily restricted. But I'm very interested to see what restrictions are on this and how it stacks up against some of the others. So like your CB 1000 is terrible when you do an exhaust change on it. Let's see what this one's like. So we're gonna get it all strapped on now, check everything, tire, chain, water, oil, all that good stuff. Then we'll get into doing a set of runs and we'll see how it's performing right now. Obviously, it's already had the race fit can fitted, which has got a tiny little baffle. It's got a little baffle in it, but it's still got the cat. So I really want to take that out. But we'll see. I'll see how it sounds, and maybe I'll pop it out. Look at that. They've got, it says Honda on the foot peg. I mean, that seems excessive. Who's reading that? Apart from me going, yeah, look at that. It says Honda. Yeah, look at that. I don't know if that's cool or not. In my world, that's cool. Right, let's get it prepped. The thing that's annoying me already is the exhaust control valve's been removed, which is obviously going to cause a bit of a problem because as soon as you take an exhaust control valve off, what essentially happens is you're opening up the air. So the engine's going to breathe more in that area where that exhaust control valve is naturally closed or not completely open. Obviously, it's going to lean that bit up, so you'll have a hole in the fueling until that's corrected. So I'm expecting it to be quite poo at the bottom. Anyway, I'm assuming the exhaust control valve motor is still somewhere on this motorcycle because the cables have just got a little placky bag around it and it's tied up underneath, which is not ideal because they're quite hard and all of this is aluminium, so it's just going to beat the death out of it when it bounces around because there's stainless steel attachments on the cables, so they're just going to batter everything. So I've got to completely remove that because we don't like leaving anything on. It's got to be completely taken. If it's disconnected and off, we want it to be completely gone, so that's what we're going to try and do as well. So once I sort all the other stuff out, I'm going to get that off wherever it may be hiding. So we'll have a little go of hide and seek in a minute with an exhaust control valve. Exciting. I still don't know if that is pair or crankcase, and I have to be very confident that it's crankcase, not pair. I'm pretty sure I can see the pipe going up and this one goes round to the front, which is going to mean that that is going to be pair valve. And I can't just cap the actual thing because there's stuff in the way, basically. Do you know what? I like it. I think it's a nice bike. I think I'd like it in a colour. Is this not a colour? No, it's boring. I do like it. Gold, isn't it? I know, but I mean, if you took 10 steps away, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't necessarily think it's a brand new, sexy new thing with wings and all this. I've got to be careful here because the guy's going to watch this. It's really nice. The cameraman says it does look quite like the Street Fighter, and it does. It does look quite like the V4 Street Fighter Ducati. Quite angry looking on the front, which is nice. It's nice, it's got nice brakes, it's got nice suspension, it looks cool. But I do, with the Hondas, I love them in the red and blue. Do you know, the proper HRC colours? I just think they look really cool. And when they brought out like the CB 1000 originally in like 08 or whatever with the single-sided that had gold wheels, but that was all HRC colours, that was sexy, that. This is nice. It's just very understated, and I like garish. Do you know what I mean? I like smack you in the face, hence everything's green. Do you know what I mean? So, but apart from that, no, it is nice. It is nice. Enough chit chat. Let's go. please. So we've just done the run, and this is the number. Bosh! 129.49. I'll take that. That's close enough to 130 that I can win that pound.
No one's giving you a pound.
I'll give myself a pound. Obviously, that's where we are. It's got 129 brake horsepower as it stands right now, but we're going to do some stuff to it. And the fueling is exactly as you would expect it to be. So it's super lean up to like 6,000 revs. So orange is rolling on, the rest are all flat stick. And you can see that we are just living in that bottom lean, terrible, crappy area. And then it'll drop down to our target. Exactly what you'd expect. But then that roll on, which is more realistic with exactly how you're going to ride this bike. Yeah, there's that. So it's just living completely, all the time, forever, at 14.8, 15 to 1, which is stoichiometric, which is nice, but absolutely crap for performance and heat and all that stuff. So we are going to fix that and also hopefully gain some more power. Let's see. Don't know where any of these go. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. This one's as well. We're going to do a thing is going to be done, and the thing that we're going to do is to get rid of the pair valve system. And the reason for it is not just to obviously stop the popping, farting, bang, 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 but also because the way the ducts terminate inside, it doesn't have proper external ducts. The ducts finish here inside the frame. But then directly in front of those is the pair system, which is basically a big solenoid valve with pipes off it. They are going to be impeding in performance. How much? Probably not an awful lot, but enough for it to annoy me. And there's the byproduct of having it so it's quieter. So we are going to remove them, and we're going to do that using our pair blanking kits. So these essentially just remove the top, these little things here. And as you can see, if you look inside, this is your pair valve. So we're going to delete this. And then you can see where the ducts are. The ducts are right here, and then the pair system's there. And then there's loads of rubber pipe work all in that area as well. So none of it's conducive to nice flow. So we're going to try and fix that with this. Next up, get rid of the exhaust control valve, which is somewhere. We've got cables here. Following them, they go around, up. There they are there. And they go underneath, in there. Let's get it. Now we've got the pair blanking kit all fitted, and you can look down, you can see the difference now once that's been removed. There's just so much more space around the front of those ducts. How much of a gain? As I said before, maybe only two brake horsepower, but every little helps. It also quietens it down, so this doesn't pop and fart and bang on the over anymore, which is also quite nice because it keeps it a little bit more sedate, even though it is also really loud. But sorted. Nice, tidy. Right, so we are going through the mapping process now, which is essentially me just holding it at different throttle positions from as low down in the rev range to the highest we can go in each throttle position. This is just to get the graphs up on the left-hand side. Once I've got all of those lines that you can see, that is our AFR value, the air-fuel ratio, and we're trying to correct that to get the maximum performance from the bike and to make it as smooth as possible. This is now live entering data into the intake air pressure map, which we roll through because it's much easier than trying to log that data. And we just, it's not live adjusting as in we see the result from it, but we can see what is happening with our AFR monitors, the wideband O2 sensors, and we'll just try and trim it from there. And now we're going to go back through the tables and then just make the adjustments in each of the columns of the TPS fuel table. And then we just send that file over, and then we rinse and repeat. We'll literally do the entire process a couple of times to get the exact target that we want and get the gain that we want, and then we'll do it again for the ignition timing as well. Right, we had these cables dingle-dangling down here. Blah, 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 blah. Can't have that, so we had to get rid of them, which we were going to do anyway. And we had to get rid of this. This is the actual exhaust control valve motor. This is what activates, sounds like Scale Electrics, to open a valve that's in the exhaust. Well, this doesn't have that anymore because it's got the race fit on there. So we wanted to make sure that the cables are completely gone because that looks strange dangling out the bottom of your bike, so we need to get rid of it. Also, there is another reason as well. Because these are stainless steel and it'll be beaten against your aluminium swing arm and all the other bits, it will actually damage things, so we don't want it to be on there, so we want to get rid of it completely. Also, the other thing as well is, while it's still active, it's still going to be moving the wires around, and at some point you're going to get an engine management light or it's going to cause other problems, so we wanted it to be gone completely. So that meant taking it off. Now the exhaust control valve motor itself is fitted under the seat. I made the mistake of going, let's go from the top down, so seat off, pod off, seat unit off. Didn't need to do any of that because there's a little access panel. So that was fun, that was a waste of 10 minutes. But anyway, so take this off, then we was able to pull it down, feed the wires around, and then that's completely gone. So that neatens that all up. You can fit an extra Milky Bar in there if you wanted to. Good, good. Baffle. We class this as a DB killer rather than a baffle, reason being it's not closed ends. I mean, if this was closed end, it'd be more than a baffle. But normal, a baffle will be closed with loads of little holes in. This we call as a DB killer because it's an orifice size reducer. So it just takes some of the note out of it. In this case though, it doesn't. It actually makes the noise higher pitched, so it kind of whistles more. So it doesn't actually sound as good. It sounds much better with this out, and it's not really much louder. So for the purposes of getting it to run the best we can, we've taken this out. Now, there is a caveat whenever we do anything with baffles or DB killers. You're always better to get it, if you're thinking about running it with it out at any point, map it with them out and then put them in. All it's going to do is when the flow rate, when we're trying to get the gases out the fastest at higher RPM, that's the only time this becomes a restriction, because at low speed, not a problem at all. It's only when the gases are really trying to push out of there is it going to hamper the performance, at which point then it's a relative negligible thing. It's not going to be a big problem. But all it's going to do is slightly slow them gases down and slightly richen the bike up, which means the mixture is going to be a bit richer. It's not the end of the world. That's okay. However, if you do it the other way around and you map it with it in and then you take it out, what you're running the risk of is it then running lean. So we will set it up with an X amount of fuel. It then opens up, it's able to flow more, and then we're going to have the risk of it running too lean, generating too much heat, and then causing damage, and we obviously don't want that. So the best thing to do, map it with it out, and then put it back in afterwards if you really wanted to. We were very worried about how much power we were going to get out of this, and we were looking at what the restrictions were in there. Now the throttle tables on these are restricted, but this is a European one. They're not as restricted, nowhere near as restrictive as America. or Canada or whatever. So we didn't know how much gain we were going to be getting, and we pushed hard to see what we could get. And this is where we got to. So we've gone from 131 to 146. That is from a filter, doing the pair valve delete, so we've got a bit more flow. Whether that makes a difference or not, I'm going to do it anyway. Bit more flow there, and then taking that baffle out and then mapping it aggressively. And this is where we got to. You can see that, especially in this hit, we had a hole here. That's actually, some of that's to do with the throttle. The throttle's actually really slow there. So by accelerating the throttle map, it's giving us a little bit more mid-range there. And then obviously that's held onto it all the way through. Now, this, you can see here that before it was just stonking lean. This is 100% throttle. It was just super duper lean, up to about 6,000 revs. And then it kind of tapered to where you'd expect it to be. Now we are, booyah, right on the line everywhere. That is all well and good. Now, we've done everything we can do on this. So in the background on the files, you've got fueling, obviously. We know that the fueling's correct. Then we can go to the throttle map to make sure the throttle's 100% open. We verify this a couple of different ways. We can do it because the data on the software says it's 100%, or we also use an additional diag tool to make sure it's 100%, or we can actually have a camera in there to make sure that the throttle is completely opening, and it is completely opening. So we're maximizing that. There's no more restrictions there. It's doing 100%, can't go any more than that. Then we go through the ignition timing. It didn't actually gain an awful lot from ignition timing, but what we'll essentially do is we make sure that the tire temp is good for every run, so we're not getting any differential between the runs because the tire's getting too hot. But we'll add a bit of ignition timing, whether that be like 4 degrees from about 4,000 revs. We'll just add that as a lump. And then we'll do a back-to-back test. No change, 0 changes between the runs, and you've got to do them quite quick to make sure that the only variation is that ignition timing. And then you're seeing for the torque increase. We're also monitoring det as well to make sure that we're not hearing for any pinking, so we'll use det cam or a knock sensor to be able to tell if we're getting any detonation. This is miles away from any of that. The actual ignition advance is pretty low, but we'll just add that, paying attention to that, and then seeing what gains we get. We gained nothing, absolutely nothing, up to I think it was 10,000 revs. So the bottom end was not hampered by ignition timing at all. And then we've just added in the area where it was gain, which was right at the top. You could see on the table that it would gain on that ignition timing table originally, and then it would back it right off at the top. And it's just a soft limiter really. So we've just obviously added that back on, knowing that the fueling's correct there, knowing that we're not getting any detonation. It's absolutely fine, it's super safe. And that's where we got to. That is as good as you can get on the setup that we've got. Mega, mega happy. I mean, it's going to be super, super smooth. And then the other thing that we've done there is not only have we gone for maximum power, we make sure that we map for maximum power, and then we go, okay, what's this application? It's going to be on the road, so we want to make sure it's tame and nice, and they're going to deliver the power nice and smooth. And because these are fly-by-wire, the throttle feel can be a little bit odd anyway. So we want to make sure that when you're cruising or just taking up drive, it's not all of a sudden aggressive. So we really slow some of the throttle down in the early areas, but then still give you full power in others. So if you're demanding more power, oh boy, it's there. But when you're trying to like cruise at 70 mile an hour, like 4,000 revs or whatever, a small throttle position changes when you're normally just cruising along. It's not going to make the bike want to just accelerate really hard. It just means that the bike's a lot nicer to ride there. And we do that a couple of different ways. One, the electronic throttle valve, the actual throttle map. We calm that throttle table down in those cruise areas and in the gears where you're going to be in cruise. But then we also do the similar thing with the ignition. So we'll take some of the ignition out, we'll back the ignition out, again up to about 10% throttle, where if you're just cruising a couple of bumps or whatever, it's not going to make the bike just dead leery. It just calms it right down, makes the bike a lot nicer, a lot smoother, way, way, way better. Done, finito, done, on to the next one. Super happy with it. It mapped up really, really well in the end. We did do quite a lot of adjustments and we did quite a lot of flashes to get it to be where we are now. A lot of that is purely because it's the first one we've done, so it means that we have to do a lot of testing to see what works, what the bike likes, etc. But mega, mega, mega happy. It sounds really good as well. I know we've obviously taken the baffle out, but it does actually sound really good with the baffle out of it, and it's not super aggressive because it's still got that dirty horrible can, and I reckon there's quite a bit more power to be gained if he had headers on this. But obviously if you had headers on, that would be bonkers, so maybe a different system would be required. But yeah, mega happy. Nice bike this, it is really cool. I like it. What do you think? Please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you've got any questions, please drop them in the comments and we'll try and answer them. Thank you.